take a look at this extremely dangerous looking family. They're so dangerous. Look at their hats and those two stinking cute kids down there. As my daughter would say, you're too stinking cute. Look at these people. How dare YouTube let them on the internet and make any money? Yes, this is true. They have a YouTube channel, the Texas Boys Sharing Life and Truth. Two very terrible things to share, life and truth. And YouTube recently gave them this email that they are officially demonetized, meaning they cannot make any more money off the channel because their content is not in line with the YouTube partner program policies. None of this really states exactly what's going on, which is typical for YouTube, but it's fascinating because their content really focuses on homesteading and creating their own business off their farm. They have 5 acres in Texas. Maybe they have more land at this point. We'll have to ask TD. He's going to be here in a second. He's in the waiting room. But this is their family, and they're just like trying to make it go, having a self-sustaining food source, a business that provides healthy food for other people, working with their neighbors to make those provisions and encourage a local economy of goods. So it's just interesting that YouTube has decided this is not in line with the YouTube partner program. I have TELYRX as a sponsor this month. They are one of the online freedom pharmacies, I guess you would call them, that has arisen over the last few years because essentially you say that you are okay with the reasons the drug is prescribed, and then a doctor reviews it, and that's it. You don't need a prescription, so you don't have to worry about your doctor having political reasons for saying no. I'm going to look up EpiPen real fast because that's what I got. I all of a sudden am allergic to hornets, so I have to carry one of these around all the time. The price I was getting from my pharmacy was $500. It's $299, but you will get 20% off with your promo code Alison. So if you use promo code Alison at checkout, you get 20% off. And the URL is telyrx.club/AlisonM. telyrx.club/AlisonM. Okay, I'm going to bring in TD. He is the guy on the left here. He's the dad. He's got 6 kids. You can see them all and a wife. Let's bring him in. Welcome back. You look very tan.
Hey, Alison. Well, I do live in Texas, and I spend an inordinate amount of time outside doing ranching type things. So
yeah.
And I'm a carnivore, and I don't sunburn. So I will get very tan, but I will never burn because I eat only meat-based products, animal-based products. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
and
tell
we
me the
raise
science.
our own cows. So
Tell me the science behind not burning and eating an all carnivore diet.
I have absolutely no, I absolutely know for a fact that I won't burn, and I used to burn, and maybe it's attributed to seed oils, but I know that our whole family has been carnivore for over a year, and I can work out. Yeah, no plants. Nope. My wife used to be plant-based.
Wow.
So,
but I mean, not just plant-based. I mean, you guys don't have you don't have anything, no kale as a side item or peas or anything like that.
No kale. I am thoroughly convinced that no human being should eat kale.
Okay, well, let me think of another one. What's another vegetable? Peas.
I have 400 fruit trees, so we're still doing like local fruit and stuff like that, but we're not doing any type of vegetables or roughage or fiber whatsoever.
Okay, interesting. Well, actually, I was just thinking about this today. I know this is kind of random and not where we were going to start, but I was just thinking about this today because I have had a theory for a while that it's not the sun that causes skin cancer. And I haven't really been able to put 2 and 2 together, but I have interviewed doctors who have said, no, I agree with you. You know, it doesn't seem like it's just the sun. Like just because you get a lot of sun, ipso facto, you're going to get skin cancer. And I was reading a book recently. It was talking about, I don't want to get the science wrong, but there is something that happens to your cells when you eat too much sugar or carbs. And I kind of wonder now if it's kind of a similar process of breaking down the cell's basic ability to function, use energy. And my thought is maybe it's not just like the sun can play a role, but it's the fact that you have sugars, whether it's like glycation or whatever they call it, oxidation. Yep. I'm going to get it all wrong, but you're eating too many sugars. And So the sun mixed with whatever the process that's happening to cause your cell to become dysfunctional with that overload of sugars, it has some kind of reaction and causes skin cancer. I will just give you this like anecdote, a total anecdote. I'm not a doctor. I don't want anyone to necessarily take my advice, but it's just like one of my theories because I have a friend who has gotten a lot of I don't remember exactly the kind of skin cancer. It's not melanoma. And by the way, I did read this article, research paper in the American Journal of Pediatrics, saying that they should potentially consider their messaging differently to their parents because in the practices, because they've found that more sunscreen use does not equate with lower rates of melanoma. In fact, some studies have found that more sunscreen use equals more melanoma. Now, the doctors will go, well, maybe that's just because people using sunscreen are just staying out in the sun too long. I have other theories about sunscreen and what that does when you wear it out in the sun, especially if it's the chemicals and what's happening there. But this lady was telling me that she's getting all these skin cancers. And I just happened to ask her, like, what is your diet like? And she was like, first thing she told me was she eats way too much junk food and way too much sugar. And she keeps getting all these skin cancers. And I was like, well, have you thought about, like, you're spending less time in the sun, you're putting all the sunscreen on, and you're getting worse, but you keep eating. The only thing that hasn't really changed is your sugar. So we're talking about that. She was like, I guess I'm going to try it. So I'm curious about your kind of home experiment that you're doing, because it does sound interesting to me.
The sugars make a lot of sense. Sugars are killing us. Sugars are creating all this cardiovascular illness and all of this diabetes, type 1 and 2, well, type 2 anyway. And, you know, sugars, certainly refined sugars are killing us, high fructose corn syrup. But that makes a lot of sense because, yeah, I'm completely zero carb, and during the week I'm in a sales job and I'm outside constantly, usually on large commercial buildings, like baking in the sun. And then Friday and Saturday, I'm on the farm, either pruning trees or feeding cows or horses or something like that. And I am in the sun like 100 hours a week, and I will not sunburn. So
That's really
it's definitely
interesting.
related to a reduction in sugars, probably, because I eat zero sugars.
Okay, well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, and we're going to get sued by the sunscreen companies, let's go to something more controversial and talk about why you got demonetized on YouTube. This is the email that you got. Is there anything particularly interesting in the email that you want me to read to people? Because all I get out of this is just not in line with the partner program. It's not eligible to be monetized, and you can appeal it, but basically that's it. But they don't tell you what happened.
Yeah, this is classical technocratic fascism. So you get this email, and then you're like, oh, okay, what did I do? Now we've had probably 8 strikes on YouTube, and now that they have the new re-education camp programs, you can go in if you say some wrong word, or if you do something incorrectly that's not really well defined or whatever, and then you can get reprogrammed by watching their videos and answering the questions properly. So we've done all those things. And I think it's kind of hilarious and funny because they just want to teach you how to think and all that stuff. So then we randomly get this notice, like, out of the blue, and it says absolutely nothing. So then we go into the back office, and it's the same kind of like generic thing, but then it says something to the effect of animal cruelty. And I'm like,
What?
what? I'm like, and there's no direction to like a particular video or a particular timestamp. And this has happened basically since we started getting warnings and strikes from YouTube. It's like, oh, something you said in this video was wrong, but they'll never tell you what it was or where it was in the video, so that and then they want to re-educate you, and they're like, well, this is how you should say it. And it's like, you never indicated what I said or what I did that made you guys mad. And now you're going to re-educate me on how I should say it. And this is part of this kind of post-truth world, is to create an environment of complete ambiguity. We see a lot in bureaucracy with 8 billion laws, and the laws only, well, it's just like these people that have problems with people that love their own privacy. Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about. And my bone of contention is, no, they're only going to club you with the law when they want to. I think of this recent Nourish co-op I think they're in Michigan, right? And
Yeah.
they were
Yep.
doing a little statist jujitsu, which I thought was awesome, saying, hey, we're selling this as for animal food. And guys like Jack Spirko have always used this as an illustration that this is a way to circumvent the bureaucracy. But the reality of it is they use this tactic, and when the state wanted to, the state clubbed them with it, and that's the reason for this bureaucracy. Well, now we see this technocracy. Now we see this with this social media network, and everything must remain incredibly vague and partially obscured and opaque. So this way you will be second guessing the way you think. You'll be second guessing the words you say. Am I saying it right? And then to make it even more convoluted, if you're still participating in these social mediums and different things, you'll watch other channels and you'll say, you'll see a big channel like, I really like Redacted, Clayton Marsh, and you're like, wait a minute, he just said a boo-boo word and you are not allowed to say that. And he just said it, and their video has 3.2 million views. And how does he do that? Or you watch somebody like Mark Dice, and you're like, hey, you're not allowed to say that. And he just said it, and he's got 3 million views. So that's part of this psychological operation to get you to second guess yourself and wonder what is real. And then you have the interaction with your subscriber base and your friends and your family and other people. And they're always like, well, obviously you said something wrong, or obviously you did something wrong, or obviously they just didn't randomly do that to you just because they felt like it, when in reality, there is no type of rhyme or reason or rationale for why they've done anything to us since we've been on YouTube.
Well, I totally agree with the ambiguity being part of the recipe, not an accident for them. I think if we gave them the benefit of the doubt, one might say, well, they've got a lot to manage. They've got to have all these rules because they can't just be individualized. There's just too many of us content creators. And so it's just a business decision. They let certain people through because they're bringing in a lot of money. And yeah, it's not really necessarily about the rules, because obviously some people can break them, but it's not because they're trying to do a psychological operation. Like that's too conspiracy. Why do you think it's more so the choice B, that there is an intentional nefarious nature to it versus just, look, they're a business, they've got a lot to manage. If they want to let Mark Dice say naughty words and they don't want you and I to say naughty words, then they're just making a business decision. We don't bring them enough. We're not worth the headache. Whereas, it's a bigger creator, we'll just let them slide.
That's a great question. I do know that there was a Bilderberg meeting, I think in 2018, and the topic was basically living in a post-truth world. And as we watch postmodernism deconstructs in society, part of that destruction of the fundamental foundations of society is you have to deconstruct reality for the same reason that people can't define what is a woman. It's that same psychological deconstruction where I believe you should question everything, and you should ask questions, and you should be inquisitive. I believe those are all very good things, but what they, them, and those want to happen is they literally want you to question reality to the point where you're no longer certain what is real and what isn't, which is why there's this push for this metaverse and augmented reality and virtual reality. It all kind of fits hand in glove together. And of course it does sound very conspiratorial. But at the same time, we have to recognize that there's an enormous amount of people on the government's payroll to do all these things, whether it's either like maybe chat bots, maybe it's just disinfo agents that signature reduction agents. There's 60,000 signature reduction agents in the United States that are on the payroll. And if you read just a little bit about signature reduction, I mean, it's wild. And it could easily just be maybe signature reduction agents just interacting on social media. I don't really know. All I know is what has happened to us is kind of unexplainable and weird. We're some little homesteading channel, and we have been perpetually harassed since we've had like 5,000 subs. And, I think it's largely in part because I just never wanted to like be censored. I always just wanted to be real and say real stuff. And that wasn't popular. And it's definitely, it's definitely creates issues. That's for sure.
Before we go any further, it is the Texas Boys sharing life and truth on YouTube, or at the Texas Boys. And if you go to thetexasboys.com, you can support their business. If you live in the area, they've got a bunch of Texas events here, but there's a lot of products too that they have, like mushroom shop, the honey shop, coffee, tea, merch, all kinds of good stuff. So you can support them there. What are the main content violations you all have received?
We've gotten several for medical misinformation, and they never clearly defined what I do. Okay, so we do know one for a fact is we were doing a live stream, and we had some interaction with some guests that were leaving comments, and we mentioned something about praying for somebody to be healed. And we know for a fact that we received a strike for that, because basically that was medical misinformation. If you assumed or thought that someone could be healed by prayer, that would be medical misinformation. So that is the one of the 8 or 9 or 10 times that we've been clubbed by this club that I actually know why. And so that's the kind of bizarre, nefarious, opaque kind of weird stuff that they do. And that is the one time that we can attribute it to that, because they were rather clear on that, you can't talk about prayer healing people.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. We have a lot of questions for you at AlisonMorrow.locals.com. This is a great way to support the show. If you're somebody who wants to throw $5 into the pot to keep the show going, you are trying to get off Starbucks or whatever else costs you $5, then spend your $5 here, hide it. It's funny. I have a neighbor. I know he pays like all of his rent when he gets his paycheck for like 4 months. I don't know what his problem is. I just know his landlord's like, he pays me for 4 months. I think maybe, I don't know if he's like a gambling addict or something, but he like gets rid of all his money that's going to cause him any problems. And so if you got money that's going to cause you problems, throw it my way. All right. It will not cause me any problems. It would be great to have your money. Send it my way. Another way that you can send me your money, which is really been wonderful, is to send me some mail. We just got some mail. The producers have been able to open it on the way home. Just trying to show something that we got here. Well, I'll show the seeds I got, because I still think it's pretty cool. Sylvia sent me some seeds for stuff that grows well in Florida. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida, 34432. AlisonWinePromo.com is still around. We have, however, changed it from you going on to Alison Wine Promo and picking out whatever wines you want to now a wine club. So you get a delivery of 6 bottles of wine every 3 months. And these are fantastic wines. I got one from Chile right here. I don't drink during the show or anything, but I do keep it here for a prop so you can see what one of these bottles looks like. These are handcrafted, old world, like some of these vineyards, they're still handpicking the grapes. one of the vineyards from almost 9,000 feet, over 200 years old type vineyards, the kind of places that are still making the wine the way that their families have made them for generations and generations. And they're usually in areas where there's very few pesticides, and they're not doing things like adding dyes or fillers and stuff like that to the wine. So it's very good. And I would say not as bad for you. This is the grocery store wine. Though I'm not a doctor. We already did our skin cancer talk earlier. Anyway, this is just an amazing company. They're amazing wines. It's a great way to have a product that you can always have on hand for like the awkward cocktail party. You're going to meet grandma. Grandma drinks a little bit too much, but she's too old for you to say anything because you know what? She's 97 and she's made it longer than you. What are you going to do? Bring grandma one of those bottles of wine, crack it open, tell her you're sorry for unfriending her over Trump because now he's back. It's no use getting upset about it. Put on your ear patch, your ear pillow, whatever people are wearing now. Have a glass of wine. And let's move on.